Welcome in to another episode of my Dynasty Fantasy Football YouTube channel. Today I have my 5 takeaways series. I'll be dropping this every Monday from now until the end of the NFL season, covering that week's slate. As always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let's jump into my first topic. So, the Rashee Rice injury and the Chiefs' offense. So, Rice suffered a severe knee injury in the Chiefs' 17-10 victory over the Chargers. It's not exactly clear what it is. It's feared to be a torn ACL. Typically, that means it's a torn ACL, but we're going to see. Rice also has a suspension coming, so his dynasty value is in peril. But throughout the season, Rice had 24 catches, 288 yards, 2 touchdowns on 29 targets in his first 3 games. Good for 8 catches and 96 yards per game. He was a solid wide receiver 1, and that would have continued. Xavier Worthy and Travis Kelce filled the void left by Rice. Kelce had 7 catches for 89 yards on 9 targets. Worthy had 3 catches for 73 yards and a touchdown on 4 targets. Now, what would I suggest doing now because of this? Hard to make moves with Rashee Rice, but I think this is your opportunity, maybe your last opportunity to get out on Travis Kelce. Kelce is almost 35 years old. He has not been good. He was bad until this game. He was not playing well. The tight end landscape is horrible. So people are going to be desperate for tight ends. I mean, could you get a first in tight end premium leagues for Kelce now? Probably not. You might have to add a second to Kelce to get it, but whatever you can get, if it's, if you're not a contender, now is a good time to move on from Travis Kelce. I don't think you're going to regret it. I don't think you're going to get burned that badly. And you're getting a sell opportunity on a 35-year-old player that you probably didn't expect to get. So I would absolutely take it. Our next takeaway, Kyle Pitts is just bad. He's bad. He delivered another goose egg in week 4, another 0 for Kyle Pitts. And there were so many problems. He played 30 of 56 snaps. That's not great. He ran 22 of 34 routes. That's even worse. Charlie Warner is cutting into his playing time. Why? Why is that happening? Well, it's because Pitts is not a focal point of the offense like Drake London and Darnell Mooney. Pitts is 5th on the Falcons in all receiving categories with 8 catches, 105 yards, and a touchdown on 15 targets. 2 catches and 26.3 yards per game. Darnell Mooney and Drake London are the top 2 weapons. But even Ray McCloud has more targets, receptions, and yards than Kyle Pitts does. Bijan Robinson, more targets, receptions, and yards than Kyle Pitts. It's not a scheme problem. It's not a coaching problem. This is a Kyle Pitts problem. He just isn't good enough. I don't know what happened to the player from college or the one that we saw in 2021, but that player doesn't exist anymore. They're gone. So the actionable move is to sell Kyle Pitts low. It's clear at this point that it's not going to turn around. It's been enough time. There was that injury. Now we have so many years of it being bad. Pitts is not going to be any sort of difference maker. And somehow he's worse on a per game basis than he was in 2022 or 2023. I'd rather have Jake Ferguson over Pitts at this point in Dynasty. You're not going to get a first. So in a tight end premium league, I'd take a couple of seconds just to be done with Pitts. I'm finished, done. It's over. I'm not buying back in. I don't care if he has a big game next week. I'm done with Kyle Pitts. It's just been too long. It's not going to happen. It's very, very clear what the intended usage of Kyle Pitts is, and it's not a player that we care about. Pitts is not going to be in my top 12 for tight ends next week. You can drop him in redraft leagues. No interest in Kyle Pitts moving forward. Next up, Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson concerns. Both of them have struggled to fire in the Jets offense for kind of different reasons. Hall was abysmal in week 4, and abysmal is an understatement. He was so bad. 10 carries for 4 yards and 2 catches for 14 yards. Stuffed on multiple goal line attempts. Dropped a critical pass. I mean, his putrid performance was probably the difference between the Jets winning and losing. He was awful. Not okay, not meh, awful. Absolutely awful. It's probably the worst game of his career. And he struggled all year. His 56 carries for 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3.1 yards to carry, 18 catches for 134 yards and a touchdown, 24 targets. Look, the receiving volume's still there. He's still averaging over 4 catches, 6 targets a game, and 14 carries a game. It's actually the highest of his career, oddly enough. The workload's there. He's just been bad. And We can't make the excuse, oh, the offense is bad. Oh, the offensive line is bad, because Braylon Allen has 27 carries for 130 yards and touchdown, 4.8 yards carry, and 7 catches, 57 yards on touchdown, 9 targets. Allen looked like the better running back in week 4. I don't think he's better than Breece Hall, but it's highly concerning. Something's not right. I don't know what it is. I'm not sure, but something's wrong. It's not just an aberration. Hall looks awful and has looked awful for a lot of the year, while his teammate looks good in the same exact offense. So something's not right. I don't know what that is. The gap is closing in snaps. Hall led Allen with 51 snaps to 27, but the gap's closing. Allen's role grows every week. He was in on more passing game and more goal line situations in week 4 than he was previously. So I have big concerns with Breece Hall. And I don't know what to do at this point. You just have to hang on, I guess. Speaking of concerns, Garrett Wilson, 5 catches for 41 yards on 8 targets. Tied for the team lead in targets, led the team in snaps. He's out there. It's not like he's not there. He ran a route on 50 of 51 Aaron Rodgers dropbacks and still didn't deliver. He did not deliver. This year, Garrett Wilson has 20 catches, 191 yards on a touchdown on 34 targets in 2024. He's leading the Jets in targets by a lot. He's still the most targeted receiver, but he's not delivering on a per-target basis. 2024 is his worst statistical year, despite playing with the apparent best quarterback of his career. Now, what do? You buy Garrett Wilson, and I do feel like I'm going to go down with the ship on Garrett Wilson. I feel like this is going to be one of the hardest players for me to ever let go. The list of players who topped 160 targets in their second year is basically all Hall of Famers, Josh Gordon, and Juju. That's the list. It's a pretty good list. It's all Hall of Famers. There's like 8, 9, 10 Hall of Famers on that list. Larry Fitzgerald is a player on that list. For example, Justin Jefferson is on that list. It's just hard to believe that Garrett Wilson isn't good. Players who have this kind of volume early in their career always hit every single time. And here are some trades from the Dynasty Daddy trade database today. Trades today. Buy Garrett Wilson for Aaron Jones, Deontay Johnson in 2/3. I mean, in Dynasty, we're doing this all day. You buy Garrett Wilson for the injured Rashee Rice. I'd much rather have the healthy Garrett Wilson, who I still think is going to break out. And then this last one that I don't understand at all is you can buy Garrett Wilson and Brian Thomas, who played really well this week, looks really good, for Puka Nacua, who's coming back who knows when. So there is an opportunity to buy Garrett Wilson here. These were not the only good trades. There are so many trades to buy Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson is my number 1 buy target in all of Dynasty right now. Now, if you like my YouTube content and you like some of the stuff that I'm talking about, you should sign up for the Patreon. You get my rankings, access to the Discord, and the ability to ask in advance questions for the YouTube videos. Tiers begin at just $6 a month and include all of that. If you want to know more about the Patreon, check out both of my why you should join the Patreon videos on the channel. I really appreciate everyone who's signed up and any new patrons who join. And look, it is so hard to get people to even contribute anything more than $0 for fantasy content. It's hard. If I offer stuff for free, people say, well, then why would I sign up for the Patreon? If I don't offer stuff for free, then people are like, well, you're an asshole. Why would we support you? So no matter what I do, I can't seem to win this battle or whatever you want to call it. So if you want to support my content, I would really appreciate it if you signed up, because that's the only way that this is going to continue. I really don't know how to advertise it or push it or do anything else anymore, but it just is what it is. So please sign up. It would really mean a lot to me. Like, the link is in the top right corner. I work really hard on this. So I just really appreciate it if you gave it some consideration. But yeah, with that said, let's move on to my next topic. So my next topic, Jayden Daniels. And if you want to see where I have Daniels ranked in my Patreon ranks, you should sign up for the Patreon. But he's been elite, if not the best quarterback in the NFL so far. He eviscerated the Cardinals this week, 26 of 30 passing, 233 yards, touchdown, interception, 8 carries, 47 yards, and touchdown. averaged 7.8 yards per attempt. And this game could have been infinitely bigger if not for the 2 Jeremy McNichols rushing touchdowns. Wasn't even Daniels' best game. So far, 87 of 106 for 82.1% completion, 897 yards, 3 touchdowns, an interception, 8.5 yards a carry, plus 46 carries, 218 yards, and 4 touchdowns so far this season. He's been the best quarterback in the NFL right now. Literally the best. And by far the best fantasy quarterback. Despite the Commanders' offense being on fire, he only has 7 touchdowns. The Commanders' running backs have 6 rushing touchdowns. So there's even more room for Daniels to grow for fantasy. We might not have even seen the best it could be, given the yards per attempt and completion percentage numbers. Jayden Daniels is a top 5 dynasty quarterback. If you wanted to have him dynasty QB2 behind Josh Allen, I would not have a problem with that. I'm probably going to have him at quarterback 4 behind Allen, Hurts, and Lamar, but I would not have a problem having him quarterback 2. There's no issue with that. Now, what's the actionable move here? Has nothing to do with Jayden Daniels. It has to do with buying Caleb Williams. People are angry because people are emotional. We're human. We're emotional. And they're angry that Caleb Williams, they saw, the person who had 103, they picked Jayden Daniels. Caleb Williams isn't doing what Jayden Daniels is doing, and they're angry, and they think that Caleb Williams is worthless. But usually the best time to buy a player is when they're being downgraded for something that has nothing to do with them. Nothing at all. Nothing. Jayden Daniels being good really doesn't drop Caleb Williams' value in Dynasty. Look, Caleb Williams has looked good the last 2 weeks. I know you don't want to accept it, but he has. He's growing into a good NFL quarterback. He looked better over the last couple of games in year 1 than Trevor Lawrence has looked in year 4. So I'm happy with what I've seen from Caleb Williams. I'm not panicking at all. The state of the quarterback play in the NFL is bad. Caleb Williams has not been bad. So here's some deals you could get Caleb Williams for. JJ McCarthy and Xavier Legette. I take Caleb Williams there easily. You could add a 27 first with Caleb Williams by selling Dak Prescott. I would take Caleb Williams there really easily. And then this last one, which is beyond insane to me, is somehow Bijan Robinson in a 2nd-round pick turned into Caleb Williams and Garrett Wilson in a super flex league. Do this. Bijan Robinson hasn't even been that great. I would take Caleb Williams here easily. People are overreacting to what a completely separate player is doing. So take advantage and buy Caleb Williams. Now, lastly, Christian Watson had a high ankle sprain in week 4, but he hadn't done anything anyway this year. Through 3 games, he still wasn't emerging in the offense. He had 5 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown and 7 targets in the first 3 games. Jayden Reed had a lot more, 10 catches, 197 yards, touchdown, and 5 carries for 89 yards and touchdown in those same games. Romeo Doubs was also better, 8 catches for 130 yards on 12 targets in those 3 games. Watson was the wide receiver 3. He was playing fewer snaps than Doubs, and it just wasn't working. But after Watson got hurt, Dontayvion Wicks stepped up with 5 catches, 78 yards, and 2 touchdowns on 13 targets in week 4. Packers rotated their wide receivers a lot less often. Wicks played most of the snaps and ran 45 of 56 routes. But everyone had a big game. Reed had 7 catches for 139 yards and a touchdown on 8 targets. Kraft had 6 catches for 53 yards and a touchdown on 9 targets. And Romeo Doubs had 4 catches for 39 yards on 8 targets. So everyone was involved. But what do you do here? I would sell high on Dontayvion Wicks. I get it. He's a dynasty darling, but he had totaled 3 catches, 26 yards, and a touchdown in the previous 3 games. I'm not saying that Wicks can't fill in for Watson, but he's going to be overvalued because he's a dynasty community favorite. He's not displacing Jayden Reed as the wide receiver 1 for the Packers. Ever. It's not happening. So I'd easily take a 2025 second plus for Wicks if it's on offer, and it will be because people are obsessed with Dontayvion Wicks, who had literally had 26 yards in the previous 3 games and had dropped so many passes, had not looked good. So I would definitely be looking to put Wicks on the block and seeing what I can get for him. Today, we're going to go over time to answer the Patreon question. So when can I be done with Mark Andrews? Well, he has 2 straight goose eggs. He has 6 catches for 65 yards and 9 targets for the season. He's a must bench until further notice. You cannot play him next week. But what reason is there to sell Mark Andrews in Dynasty? What are you going to get? Who's going to buy him? Right? I mean, nobody's buying Mark Andrews. He's not young and he's not producing. So there is zero market for Mark Andrews. If anything, I'd consider buying Mark Andrews for a bargain basement price. Like if I can send a late second for Mark Andrews in tight end premium league, do I think that Mark Andrews' career is over? Probably not. So if it's tight end premium league, I could send a late second for Andrews. I'd probably do it, but I'm not really looking to pay more than that. So unless it comes at a bargain basement price, I'm fine just staying away from Andrews, letting him be someone else's problem. I'm certainly not sending anything significant for Andrews. And in a non-tight end premium league, no reason to buy Andrews. He's irrelevant. Now, general strategy for offloading players for picks during the season, not just in a rebuilding sense, just in a capitalization of value. So typically we want to sell high. For older assets, I beg people, beg people, sell in August when people are looking at the lineups, they're thinking about points, but before we possibly see the decline. See Mark Andrews, Tyreek Hill, Christian McCaffrey. Older players, if something bad happens, it's over. It's over. You don't get a second chance. You don't get another chance to sell them. Sell these older players right on the point of the season, the last couple of weeks of August, the first week of September. That is the moment to sell. As for just generally, sell high. After someone has a big game, then you sell them. Like I recommended selling Travis Kelce. If you didn't sell him before the season, you could sell him now. He still won't get as much, but that's an opportunity. But yes, wait for players to have a big game. It's like any other sale. Sell high. Generally, you want to sell high. Sometimes you sell low if you really think a player is going to continue to drop. But, I always like to take sell high opportunities like on Carson Steele or Jawan Jennings, players like that. So that's my idea of how to sell. Now, if you like the video, make sure to drop a like and leave a comment with your thoughts. As always, the best way to support the channel is to subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notifications bell so you can be notified about all my exciting content as it drops. Of course, if you want my best fantasy football advice, it's available on the Patreon. Dynasty, Start Sit, Redraft, and more. And every sign-up helps support my independent fantasy football content. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.